Hang on, Mark's already here. See, we started the new year and we've already messed up. Hello, everybody. We're back.
We're back, and it's absolutely finely tuned machine as usual. Good to see you, Maria. How was your new year?
Good to see you. Happy New Year. Nobody would ever believe that we do a tech check and a rehearsal. That absolutely no one is going to believe it. And they're going to say, Maria, you need to rehearse more and more and more.
Practice, practice, practice. So, did you have a good? Have you having a good start to your year, Maria?
Yeah, I have actually. I'm trying really hard, James, not to overdo it because I got to the end. I mean, you know, I got to the end of last year and I was exhausted on my knees, not helped by the fact that we haven't been able to go and lie on a lounger in the sunshine. I think that would have, that normally revives me. And so I'm trying really hard not to do too much. And we're going to be talking a bit about that today as well, aren't
Yeah,
we?
absolutely, absolutely. And we've got a great guest. And Maria, you organized some amazing guests. I'm really excited to hear from this guest today. So, would you like to introduce him to everyone?
Yeah, so listen, it's completely selfish, James. I like to invite guests where I can get information that's really useful to me.
I
But
like
this
that idea.
particular guest, do you like that? I always
Yeah.
do that. I'm a very selfish person. You knew that. Anyway, our guest today is Mark Ozmen, and let me tell you about how I met Mark. I met Mark through our mutual friend, Jamil Qureshi, who you know is a speaker, high performance coach, a very successful speaker. And he introduced me to Mark because Mark is one of the top sales guys around. I mean, he really is amazing, great at relationships, great at getting things done, great at making things happen. And I brought him into the bureau in January 2020. And I thought, yeah, because 2020 is going to be the biggest year. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And then we got to March. And Mark and I looked at each other and said, it's going to be a while before really things are going to go, get busier. We knew it was going to be a
Yeah.
tough time. So he said, I'm going to go off and do something else. I'll come back. Anyway, he went off, he reinvented himself, and he's doing something completely different. And I'm going to bring him in and he's going to tell us what he's doing. And it's totally relevant to today. Hello, Mark.
Hi Maria. Hi James. How you doing?
Yeah, we're good. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. So, Mark, before we begin, first of all, you've had COVID, and
Uh,
it's relevant to what you're going to tell me you're doing at the moment. So, tell us what you're doing and tell us about your COVID experience.
it could be slightly ironic that the COVID test guy has just had COVID, but no, I had it just before Christmas, which was awful because Christmas Day with my daughters was presents by FaceTime. But at least we've got that technology nowadays where you can do that. So it was actually better than nothing. Just coming back to what you were saying, Maria, I mean, I've been in duty free for many, many years, and duty free has been a great business for me, mainly in beauty. So some of the biggest beauty brands in the world, I've been working closely with, Airport, the in-flight retail catalogue, the airlines, the ferries, the cruise liners, anything beyond passport control has been my domain. And of course, we met up, and then I thought, what, this speaker industry is fascinating. There's some wonderful characters. It's really interesting people, and the customers are really nice. Duty free. The buyers are tough. They're hardened retail buyers, and it's a tough environment. So both my sort of areas of expertise came crashing down in March, as I'm sure it did for lots of other people. Literally overnight, the airlines just stopped flying and stopped selling, and the airport stores were empty and quiet. So it was a really, really difficult time for me. And in my business as a director of a small company, I pay dividends to myself. I pay minimum sort of salary, and I'm one of those sort of forgotten 3 million that there's absolutely no help or support whatsoever. And it's quite shocking when you've got children and you've got bills, and I'm going to have to do something. So I reinvented myself. I thought I'll look into COVID testing, and it came about because a good friend of mine works for a big corporate company, not naming names, but possibly the biggest internet retailer in the world. And he said, look, we have lots of events that go on. Can't do them. It's vital that anybody that sort of comes to any of our red carpet events is tested. And so we're looking into how we can go about, restarting our events. Have a look into testing. And long story short, that's exactly what I did. I went to speak to as many manufacturers as I could, found out all the sort of, I mean, it's still a big learning process for everybody. Nobody really knows. I'm not a doctor, but I've learned an awful lot about how the virus spreads, how it works, and how best to combat it and how best to, to protect yourself against it. And so I managed to find a rapid antigen test kit, which is 15 minutes. It's called a lateral flow. It's like a pregnancy kit. But this particular kit is fantastic because it's a front of nose kit. So it's a nasal swab. But you just need to blow your nose first. Because at the end of the day, the virus lives at the back of the nose. There's no way of getting around that. It would be fantastic if there were just saliva machines, that would be much easier, much quicker. But the reality is the DNA of the virus is at the back of your nose. And if you blow your nose just before the test, you can do a front of nose test, and it's non-invasive. It's no discomfort. And in all the events I've been doing in London recently, the attendees are really shocked, and they're a little bit anxious when they come in because they know they've got a test, and they think that someone's going to scrape their brain with a swab. And actually, it's not. It's nothing like that. It really relaxes them when you say, well, actually, you're going to do the test yourself, and we're going to oversee it.
So Mark, take us through that process, because I'm sure that anyone watching, listening to this just now, who either runs events, they're maybe an event organizer, or a company that maybe has internal or client-facing events, or a speaker who speaks at events, this is something that we're going to be experiencing a lot more now. So take us from that step. Let's imagine an attendee at an event. What does it look like? What does that process look like? How quick is it from them turning up at the front door of that conference hall or that venue to actually getting into the room and being able to then experience the event?
So what we found is that we have a testing station set up by the entrance to the venue. So we can do 5 at once because the paramedic can actually take each person through the test together. So 5 people at once. And it actually takes about 2 minutes from start to finish to get 5 people tested. But they then go to a separate area, still not in the venue, but they're socially distanced, they're wearing their masks, they're doing everything they're supposed to do, but they're waiting 15 minutes for the result. And then we do another 5, and they go and stand in another area, and then we do another 5, and they stand in another. So you can actually get through a considerable amount just with 2 people, just one paramedic and myself doing all the admin. So you can actually get through considerable amounts. So if you do the maths and you add, more paramedics and more help, you can get through quite a few. I think get quite a lot of people in quickly. So it works.
So Mark, the question we've all got on our lips, and anybody who's watching, because we're all in the speaking world, we're in the events world. This is about This Week in Events. Why can't we use this for conferences? Or why aren't we using this for conferences? Or can we use this for conferences?
I think that the only thing I know for sure is that when a corporate company is doing their events, so to speak, say, for example, it was a live music streaming event, and the talent, the pop stars arrived, and all the camera crew, and all the PR, and all the back, the record companies, everybody there is being paid, and it's deemed to be a workplace, and the rules are not the same for a workplace than they are for an event. And that's the only reason I can possibly think of that why testing isn't being done at events, and events and conferences aren't going on. I can't understand it. It must be that.
So where do you think we're going to go? Because we're going to soon, or now, in this place where a percentage of the population has had a vaccine, has been vaccinated. The majority haven't been vaccinated. Where do you see things going? Because we're going to have these 2 different groupings that are going to be perhaps trying to come to events and wanting to come to events. Where do you see the technology kind of going?
Well, it's funny you should say that. I've been talking to a company recently that's got a really groundbreaking new technology that's based on physics and not chemistry. So obviously the chemistry is the DNA of the virus, whereas this works on saliva. So it's a front of mouth saliva test. You take a swab. It takes 2 seconds. You put it into a cartridge. The cartridge goes into a machine, and then the machine it sort of blows it up and looks for the shape of the DNA rather than the actual chemistry. And this is absolutely groundbreaking technology. If it can be proved to work, then it's a 20-second test. So that then opens up airports. You can literally, and it's as good as PCR, which is the the gold standard 99.9% test. But what I'm tending to find is that governments aren't ready for pandemics. If you want to get a medical device approved, my gosh, it can take years, and it's lots. And it's really frustrating. You think, what's the delay? Why are you waiting and waiting and waiting? Just do the test. If it works and it can be proved to work, move quickly.
Yeah.
And that's amazing technology. So I can see that coming into play fairly soon. But people, the sort of corporate clients that I'm working for, they're looking at another 2 years. They're saying we don't know if people have been tested or not. There's no official app or passport, health passport, anything like that. So they're just going to carry on testing and make sure. Because 15 minutes, relatively cheap. Someone comes in, they test them, they know for sure. So that's the way they're going to carry on. So hopefully I've got another 2 years, but I think I'm going to have to reinvent myself again.
Yeah, absolutely. The man of reinventions. So listen, Mark, you mentioned the PCR test, and this is the favoured test because, by the way, the coughing in the background is my little doggy. So if anybody can hear him, he's having a little coughing fit. But you say the PCR test is 99% accurate. How accurate is this antigen 15-minute test that you're using?
Well, my particular one is 98.3%. I mean, most of the antigen tests that I've tested are all about the same. For example, my test, the two big corporate clients I work with, they didn't take my word for it, or the independent clinical validation, or the CE mark. None of that. It went for testing from themselves. So they tested, using their medical consultants, and gave it a clean bill of health. And most of the antigen tests, I think, are about the same. With antigen testing, it's more about the timing of when you take the test. Because really, from what I know, like I've said before, I'm not a doctor, but from what I can gather, once you're exposed to the virus, it can take about 4 days to bed in. And during that time, you're asymptomatic, but you're not contagious either. So on the 5th day, that's that crucial day where you're asymptomatic and you're raging with the virus and you're contagious and you're spreading it everywhere, but nobody knows. And that's the problem. But an antigen test will pick it up sort of halfway through that 5th day, and a PCR test might pick it up slightly before that. But if you're not feeling unwell, no one's going to be tested. So what we've found with a lot of corporate clients is that they will do 4 days of antigen testing consecutively, and on the 5th day they'll then move to a 4-day cycle because they know the person hasn't got it, and they'll just keep testing every 4 days. Because obviously, if you pick it up at that moments after the test, it's going to take 4 days to come through. So they just keep testing every 4 days. It seems to work. But I think it's safe for the time being.
And Maria, you were just saying there that your little doggy was kind of coughing in the background there. But I did see something, Mark. Maybe you can shed some light on this. That they are training dogs with their amazing sense of smell to be able to smell COVID. I understand that they smell like bombs. You put like some dogs, I think they can smell certain forms of cancers, I'm told, as well. So is this true? Can dogs actually smell COVID if people might have it?
I'm ex-army, and I've got a lot of friends who are still army or attached to the army or reserves. And yes, from what I know, it's absolutely true. They've trained dogs to,
wow.
It's not quite, it's not sort of convenient for me at an event, bring the dogs in.
Maria, I think you may find a new profession for your pooch.
Well, he's getting on a bit now. I'm not sure. I think he'll end up coughing over everybody as he is at the moment. But, and Mark, the other question that I think on everybody's lips when they'll be watching this is, can I buy a test so I can have a stock of 15-minute tests? Can I, as an individual, do that?
Not yet, unfortunately. So I can sell. They're deemed to be professional use only, and that means that a registered healthcare practitioner must either conduct or oversee the test, and that's more about ensuring that the swab is collected correctly. But it's a little bit of a nonsense, really, because when you go to, say you've got a home test kit that's been sent off to a lab, you're doing the swab yourself, and there's nobody watching you, nobody testing, nobody making sure that you're doing it correctly. And on the antigen test, there's 2 lines: there's a control line and a test line. The control line, if that doesn't come up red, then there's not enough material. If it comes up red, you've done the test correctly. And I do remember, when I've started to feel slightly lightheaded, and I've been doing lots of events in London, and I'd come across quite a few positive cases that I dealt quite closely with. So I was a little bit wary. And as the moment I felt slightly lightheaded, and it was a weird feeling, I did one of my own tests, obviously, and to see that red line come up within a minute, the bold red line on the test, I had about a 10-minute panic. I actually really did think, oh my God, actually from Wuhan, I've actually got the virus. And it was a really kind of panicky 10 minutes. And then, I don't feel too bad, I'm okay. Next day I had a fever for 6 hours or so, but I've had worse colds. Maybe I'm just really lucky. I know, I'm not treating this flippantly in the slightest. I know it's a killer. But, for me...
But Mark, I know you, you're very fit, you're very active. So,
Yes,
you go off running and you are super fit, because I think that's your ex-army thing that has kept you. So I don't think you're the average person. So I think let's all take care and cover our noses.
I do about
And our
120
mouths.
marathons a year, so I'm pretty fit.
You're not normal. You're not normal.
And that was from the army. Yeah, 100%. I've just kept it going ever since, because I like feeling fit and being fit. It makes me feel good.
One interesting thing when we spoke before, you mentioned, which I'd never heard of, was a spray, a type of nasal spray, which is really intended if maybe you're going into a situation, you haven't had the vaccine, you haven't been vaccinated yet, maybe you're going into a situation where there's a higher risk, and that's pretty much every situation now, I guess. But there's this kind of nasal spray which gives some type of a little bit more protection in addition to maybe wearing the masks.
There is a nasal spray. Quite what you believe in terms of the percentages, 99.9% or whatever. But you spray it, and I'm just looking at it really sort of carefully, seriously now for some corporate events, because you can do everything like testing, masks, or social distancing. It's just another tool in the armory.
Yeah.
And the way the spray works is it sort of forms a gel-like layer in the nostril and stops COVID getting in. So you spray it, within about a minute it starts to work, and then you've got 5 hours protection. I mean, why not? In my opinion, why not? So a lot of my corporate customers are looking at giving that away to everyone that attends, and just saying to them, look, it's just an added tool. Just use this every few hours and keep yourself safe. But yeah, again, the technology is amazing. So we're making leaps and bounds.
But it does seem to be that almost like the corporates, some of these larger corporates, I know in Ford in America, they were buying these massive fridges for the Pfizer vaccine months ago, because they could see that there was going to, in terms of cold storage and getting all that set up so they could start vaccinating people in there that work in their factories, for example. So it seems like a lot of these corporates, they've been further ahead than perhaps many of our governments.
I guess they've got to be. It's their business. Their business needs to keep going. And they really, they care about their employees, and they care about people attending their events, because the last thing they want is for someone to come along and say, I went to that event and sure, I got COVID there. It's terrible PR. They don't want it, so they're doing everything in their power to and the beauty of the antigen test is it's 15 minutes. It's on site. It doesn't need to be sent off to a lab. It's almost as accurate as the PCR, and pretty much if someone's got it, it's very unlikely to give a false positive, because it's looking for a specific gene, looking for specific DNA. If it finds it, then you get the red line of the test. So it's not bad. The worry that with the antigen, obviously, is the possibility of a false negative, and then someone's allowed in who's contagious. But it's one of those things you can't be 100%. Not even PCR at 99.9 is 100. So it's a difficult.
So Mark, going back to what you said earlier, that companies, organizations, businesses can buy these products for you, what we will do, with your permission, is we will share your contact details on the This Week in Events page, so that maybe some people can actually get back to doing some business safely by having some tests from you, which, as you say, are fairly inexpensive. Are you allowed to say how much they are, or not?
Well, I mean, they vary in price depending on volume, obviously. But I mean, the average price that I sell at is £25 a test. And it's reasonable, and it's, yes, please share my contact details. I can sell to any business. It's not a problem, as long as I advise that business that really, a registered healthcare practitioner should oversee the test. Whether they do that or not, it's up to them. But at least I can then sell legally to them.
Perfect. Wonderful. Anything else you'd like to add, Mark? Mark or James?
No, just but thanks for having me. It's been fantastic.
Yeah,
It's
lovely.
It's a fascinating area. I mean, I think we're gonna, as things start to hopefully unlock again, we're gonna be start going to events again, and we're gonna be start getting these tests at events again, and so we're gonna see a lot more of this. We're gonna put, as Maria mentioned, if you go to thisweekinevents.com, we're gonna have a link there, so you can just enter your details. We have all the show resources, and we'll have a link to Mark, so you can go and check out and learn more about the products that his company provide.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you.
I've had a tough time. I'm sure, like a lot of people out there, it's been a really, really tough few months, but luckily for me, I've managed to find an area that, is in big demand right now. But like I said earlier, I'll be reinventing myself. But hopefully when I do reinvent myself, I'll be back to working with you, Maria, and the speaker business, because that will be back.
And listen, no disrespect to what you're doing now, but I hope you run out of work in this COVID testing world as fast as possible.
Weirdly, so do I.
Okay, super. Take care. Bye-bye, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And so what we're talking about speakers, again, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. We're now in season 2. I think we're going to call this season 2, Maria. We're on episode 1.
London Speaker Bureau said, are we going to call this season 2?
Yeah, this should be season 2. So
yeah, okay.
Big thanks to our sponsors for this season, who is also the sponsors for the season 1, London Speaker Bureau. London Speaker Bureau are the world's only global speaker bureau. They have offices in 18 countries around the world. They represent the creme de la creme of the keynote speakers and speakers around the world. So if you want to find a speaker, a great speaker for your next event, virtual or in person, or maybe you want to bring in a great thought leader, someone that's has great experience in business, economics, health, then go to londonspeakerbureau.com, and they have a phenomenal roster of speakers there for you.
Fantastic. Thank you, James. You're so good at that. You're such a professional.
I love doing these things. So what was great, I just thought when he was talking there, it's like last year, I don't know if you have a word of the year, Maria. Like my word last year was going to be like 10x and bigger, and it ended up just being survive. That was the word of 2020 for me. 2021, my wife and I, we decided it's going to be thrive, how to thrive. So we've gone from survive to thrive. And what I love by hearing Mark say is that you've now got these chinks of light looking to a time when we're going to start being able to be together again, whether that's music festivals, events, concerts, maybe a little bit way off, but now there's an opportunity now for people in the speaking and events industry to start thriving again, hopefully very soon.
Lovely. I think my word, and this was my word for last year at the beginning of last year, and it didn't pan out that way at all. In fact, it was completely the opposite. So I'm going to use it for this year. My word was simplify. And part of simplifying is getting rid of the stuff you should not be doing anymore, so that you have less to do and you can then focus. And I mean, do you like the way I do that lovely link to what we're going to be talking about next? Shall I put it on the screen? This is what we're going to be talking about next.
Yes. And if anyone's watching this just now and you've chosen your word of the year for 2021, put it in the comments below, because and while you're doing that, Maria's put up a slide here. So tell us all about this, because this is our kind of topic of the week, Maria.
Yeah, our topic of the week is how to say no, because I'm really bad at saying no. And this was actually posted by Kelly Tyler, who is part of Stellar Speakers and also runs a wonderful group in Facebook called the Connection Hub, super active, supporting speakers. And she put this out, and I thought, you know what? It's so well written. It's words that we've used. I've probably never written it down in this way. And I shared it with her permission. And it got a lot of people talking about, wow, this is really helpful. Because I don't know about you, but I'm awful at saying no. And it's partly why I end up getting overwhelmed and exhausted. I'm going to remove it now. Hopefully people have had a look at it, because we're going to talk about it. Otherwise, I can't see your lovely face properly.
No, but this is great. I mean, it's a really difficult one, because especially as a speaker, when you just get started, you want to say yes to everything. Like any opportunity to get on a stage, to share your message, you're saying yes, yes, yes. But then there comes that point when you need to start saying no to things in order to be able to say yes to other things. and it's quite challenging. So Maria, when you get a client, let's imagine, or when you're advising a speaker and they have someone come to them and they say, we'd love for you to come and speak at this event. It's a really high profile, prestigious event, but the only catch is we can't give you a fee. How do you say no to that? Politely.
Well, with my speaker bureau hat on, it's very easy for me to say no, because I can say my commission on a 0 fee is really poor, and therefore I can't help you. You know, I mean, 20% commission on 0 is really, it's not worth getting out of bed for. From a speaker's point of view, I mean, there are times where you are going to say yes to unpaid events, but you have to have a strategy and a policy about that. It's not, you can't make it up as you go along. You've got to say, this is when I'm going to say yes to unpaid things. But if for a speaker, it's a lot easier for a third party to say no than it is for the speaker themselves to say no, I think. So if you are particularly bad at saying no, but you work with a bureau, pass it to the bureau and they can do it for you, so you don't look like the bad guy and they look like the bad guy, because bureaus don't mind doing that anyway. I
must admit, I did that today. I did that myself today. An inquiry came in, and I know it's not right for me, just in terms of topic. And so I actually went to the bureau and I said, listen, I introduced them to this prospective client. I said, listen, could you follow up on this? But I really don't think, and I don't want to say no to the person like hard and fast there. But the thing is, you know, someone comes in and they do have a budget, and you do want to hopefully help them find maybe the right person, but it might just not necessarily be you, and you want to give that to business to a bureau.
Yeah, absolutely. And but if you don't get in the habit of only passing inquiries where there's no fee to bureaus, because they will get upset with you.
They will not like you for that.
They will expect you to send some with fees as well. So, anyway, it's lovely to see Alison saying congratulations on season 2. I missed that. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
But what about this is more difficult. So you advise, like I do, a number of speakers who are already very successful. But maybe they're trying to reposition themselves or get known for a different thing, or maybe work on so they have to kind of say no in order to maybe step up to a new fee level or a new type of industry that they want to speak for, reposition their brand. How do you say no to that, to those inquiries that come, which are very good, they pay really well, maybe the fees, the speaker can do it, no problem, they can do it in their sleep, but they don't necessarily want to do that type of work anymore?
I don't want to do that type of work anymore. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Often I think you've just got to say it really straightforward and simple. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that kind of work anymore. It's not the words and saying it in that respect. It's actually the mindset of not being fearful that and not thinking that there is scarcity. And there is a lot of mindset around scarcity at the moment because people think there's less work. But I mean, I know speakers who have done phenomenally well in 2020 and really increased their turnover, increased their bookings by saying no to other stuff and being totally really focused, laser beam focused on one thing.
Yeah. I think that's quite common, and there are really nice ways of saying no. I had someone say no to me, very nice way. Last year, maybe the year before, it was a great speaker, Seth Godin, great marketer, someone I really admire as both a thought leader, as a speaker, as a writer. And I think we asked him to come on. Maybe it was one of our events, or maybe it was a podcast at that point. And he politely just declined to listen. I don't think at this point I'm working on these other projects and I have a focus on other things. He said, but he said, come back in 6 months. So when you see that, it generally does mean that they're interested, but just it's like, no, not now, more than no.
Yeah.
So I actually did follow up with him, and we just confirmed him, actually, I think for coming
Fantastic.
up on our shows. And it's very personable. And so even if you're saying no to something, and it's not a no, not now, but it's like no, not ever, kind of no. There are still nice ways of saying it, and the one I'll sometimes do if it is a paid engagement and it's not right for me, or if it's something I'm just not interested in doing, then I'll just say no, but you might be interested in having a conversation with that person or this person or looking at this, or we have this other product you might check out. So it's like the yes and thing that they do in Silicon Valley, like no, but.
Yeah. I think the challenge is, though, and this happened to me actually in this week, where I'm trying to do less, and I'm trying not to get overwhelmed. I've had to say no to 3 different people who have wanted my time this week. And a couple of them pushed back and said, but why not? And literally challenged me on my no. And I thought, why are you doing this? I've said no. And actually, when a lady says no, a lady means no.
Yes. The lady's not for turning, as they say.
Yes. And I just thought that's really awkward and really uncomfortable now.
I think the hard ones, you must get this all the time, Maria, when people say, it used to be, can I just buy a coffee? And now it's like, can we just jump on Zoom
15 minutes of your time?
15 minutes
Can
of Zoom?
I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you?
And I thought, okay, like this. Sometimes you do want to do those because it's quite nice sometimes, but they just they can suck up so much time if you give all the time. So I know what some people do is they have a 30-minute window every Friday, which they're set up using Calendly, which is a tool we've spoken about before. So they'll just say, no problem. Every Friday, I do a working open hours at 4 p.m. For half an hour. If you want to book that slot, it's a first come, first served. And that's how they do it. And sometimes it might be months before you can get time with that person, but that's how the person says no, or yes, but in a different way.
I like that. I really like that. That's really good. That's very good. I'm going to pinch that, I think.
Maria's time. So fantastic. And Kate Broad just saying spot on, Maria, like in terms of ways of saying no, lots of different ways. Anyone else got interesting ways that you've had to maybe said no to opportunities? There's always, they're like buses. They often come in multiples as well. Should we talk about our tools of the week? This is our first tools of the week of 2021. Maria, do you want to go first with your first tool of 2021?
Yeah. Well, listen, in 2020, I have, and in fact, it's got worse because we've had Christmas and New Year, but I've expanded in weight because I've been sat at my desk in front of a flipping camera. And so I got myself a standing desk, and it's one of these, I'm going to wind it up. It's one of these wind up desks. So I can see, look, it's going up. You see, we're going up. I'm going to lose this on my computer. This is the back of my computer going in front of the camera. So I can wind the desk up and I can stand it and I can wind it down. And when I'm using my webcam, actually, the webcam goes up and down with me. I'm using my posh camera today. And so my desk goes up and down so I can stand. But what's interesting, because I've been sitting for so much, I can't stand for as long as I used to. But you can get, of course, these wonderful electrical desks that go up and down. They're super expensive and they're lovely. This particular one was a bargain, and we're going to put a link, and I got it on Amazon. The only challenge with it, guys and girls, is that it was an absolute nightmare to assemble. It took two of us about 2 hours. But it's worth it when you've done it. There were so many bits you would not believe because it came flat packed.
So how much of your day are you spending sitting now, and how much of your day you're spending working standing?
I haven't analysed it, but probably about half and half now.
That's great.
And I also have a reminder on my watch to stand up if I haven't stood up for a while.
Yeah. I remember at one point, you're going to go through these different things. At one point, I don't remember Bosu balls. Do you remember Bosu balls? These kind of inflatable balls they use in gyms. And so someone said, someone said, okay, what you need to do is you need to use those as your chair, because you make these small little corrections the whole time, and it works your backside and it works your lower back muscles. I think I lasted
someone, and she is super fit, she's super lean, and she swears by it. And actually, it's a good idea because I get terrible backache because I think my posture's bad when I'm standing as well. But maybe we should do one of the shows standing and see if there's a difference in our delivery. It'd be interesting.
Well, there's always a difference to the standing. I love whenever if I speak on usually like more kind of keynote presentation style, standing, totally different energy.
We stand next week.
Let's try standing. It's a standing show next week. Yes, absolutely. So that's we're going to put a link to that. Go to thisweekinevents.com and just enter your details there, and there'll be a link both to Mark and also that particular one as well. Should I give you a little bit of insight into my?
I want to know what yours is. I know what yours is, but tell everybody it's a good one.
Well, this is a tool I've been using the free version for I don't know how long time, and I actually interviewed one of the, I think he's an investor in it, Guy Kawasaki, who wrote a great book called The Art of the Deal, or Art of the Start was the name of the book. And Guy is an investor in this company, and I kind of started looking at it. I think maybe I should I was using it so much, and our team were using it so much for different uses, we decided actually to use the premium. And it's not expensive. The Pro, it's like $25 a month or something. And it's called Canva. Now, probably many of you are already using Canva, maybe the free version, but it seems to have really upped its game recently. And now, next week, maybe if you watch next week, we'll be using some video intros and some cool things using Canva. So you can do all of your Google ads, you can do all of your quote cards if you're a speaker doing a lot of social media things, doing quote cards. You can use it for your presentations. I haven't done that so much yet. It's amazing. I love Canva. Really easy to use. Lots of stock images, stock videos, stock audio, music as well. So Canva's the one. I think, Maria, you and your team, you're Canva users as well.
Yeah, we are. We use it for some of our social media posts where we do little quotes and little things. And actually, I'm not the person who does it. It's Sian who does it. She's able to learn all these things. But yes, we do. So yeah, another vote for Canva. And in fact, if you want to, we could use what you created. Would you like to use what you created?
Maybe nice way to finish up the show. Well, Maria, lovely to be back. Season 2 with you. Great first guest.
James, I missed you.
You have got some amazing guests. I know you've already confirmed for season 2, and I'm really excited about sharing with those guests. But until then, we're going to leave you with a little outro video created in Canva, that tool. My name's James Taylor, keynote speaker on creativity, innovation, and artificial intelligence.
And that was James Taylor, speaker on creativity. You know me, I'm Maria Franzoni. Everybody knows who I am, right? Yeah, of course they do.
Absolutely. Take care. All the best, everyone. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.